Okay, so according to Zoom, we're live, but I don't see it popping up just yet. Oh, there it is. All right. Yay. Okay, well, good morning, good morning. Good morning still. It's not quite noon yet, but my name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love. And this is Morning Mojo, coffee energy pull and coffee chat. Only this morning I'm drinking a clove tea concoction of my own making. Mm. I hope you'll join me in whatever beverage soothes you in the morning. I have at least one cup of coffee usually, and I also uh, change it up, man. For the second cup, sometimes I do coffee, sometimes I do coffee with cacao, sometimes I do coffee with clove, sometimes I just do clove, sometimes, just whatever feels right in the moment. And quite by accident, I found that in going back and feeling into and doing some research on different things, like let's say, if I felt to do a particular oil, like sometimes I'll even do one drop of my organic frankincense. Ooh, which that was interesting. Why I wanted to share that. I think I'm supposed to put one drop in. No, I don't think I am. I'm supposed to. I can tell I am. Because that really excited me. And usually that means, and hey, as I always say, move towards that which brings you joy. Frankincense, sometimes for me, it's a resin. So when you have a really good um, brand, there we go. I love that it comes out one drop at a time, but sometimes a little piece of the resin can crystallize and get in the way. At any rate, so I was recording again. I gotta tell y'all, this book again. This is the fourth time I've read this book, second time for recording it, and the synchronicities that seem to present themselves um, after reading it, after because I come and do it really early in the morning, right? And it always shows me something throughout the day. This is why for me I always say that the universe, God, creation, all of my surroundings endeavors to communicate with me if I am but present enough to hear it, to catch it, and sometimes, and see, here's the issue for me. Because a lot of people say, well, nothing's communicating with me, but you have to be so present because what I've noticed for me is that that's why I like to refer it to as puzzle pieces because sometimes things come out of order. It's not a linear hours, even though we've tricked ourselves into believing that this is a linear existence. For me, in my experiment, in my quest, in my experiences so far, I'm finding that's not the case. That's why I say nothing here is as it seems. Oh, not that. Oh, okay. I went to pick up a particular fairy deck and it said, no, not us. The fairies are coming out, but not the sacred forest fairies. This time it is The Oracle of the Fairies by Brian Froud. And I believe, is her name Rebecca? I think her name is Rebecca. No, Jessica Macbeth. That's why I thought Rebecca. So I had a little experience yesterday that I want to share. Um, I keep being shown how it is that we all view every single thing through the lens of our experiences and our experience and the culmination of everything that has gone before, including childhood traumas, programming and conditioning, and like I said, for it to come about this morning that again in the Jeshua channelings, that's really very covered. This the saying that our emotions are really explosions of misunderstanding. And when I feel into that, that's huge in and of itself. Actually, I love what it says in the book about how Joshua said that feelings are like the parent and emotions are like the child in many respects. I'm paraphrasing there. Um, but I got to tell you, that really helped me because when I first started this, well, what's the difference between feelings and emotions? I mean, come on, y'all, help me explain it like I'm a 2-year old because honestly, so, oh, wow, okay. The pook came flying out. Card number 60, that's of course, a 6 numerologically. The 6 is all about love, balance, harmony, right? You can even tell in the way that he's standing, it's a very balancing type of pose, isn't it? For me, very interesting. And sometimes when I notice those things, I wonder to myself, because of the way this has happened for me with, numbering the deck, the Journey into It deck from, uh, one of the team members here at New Light Streaming Love. The way the numbering goes about, there was for me in this deck. It's so random, right? There wasn't any consideration as to the artwork or anything else, really. And I always wonder that about these other cards, specifically when I see that the artist has depicted something for me anyway, and see is that from the artist just doing what he feels led to do and my interpretation of it. That's what I think. I'm pretty sure that would be the way that would go, right? Because that's the way we can accidentally distort something that someone else meant. Now, in my case, I'm being called to see that it's a very real possibility that he may have intuited somewhere down the line. I don't know, very interesting. So, the pook, the key words here are shape changer, good in bad, bad in good, paradox, resolution. These are all the key words for this card. The Pook is a shape changer. He appears in whatever guise he thinks will be most confusing to you, depending on his purpose. Brian wrote, he weaves spells to bemuse our senses and confuse our judgment. He is a master of the arts of illusion and delusion, holding up a distorted mirror to reveal the bad in the good and the good in the bad. The Pook also wishes to show us the quote bad in what we think to be good and vice versa. This may confuse us further, or it may help us to gain a more balanced understanding of how things really are. He is very against rigid mindsets. Wow, this is so interesting to me. Again, more synchronicities, right? He is against rigid mindsets and, in his own way, encourages the development of inquiring minds. His true face, I'm not certain what. I'm not certain that a shape changer even has a true face, though he did hold still long enough for Brian to paint him. However, the Pook is very proud of the faces he assumes. With them, he offers us contradictions and paradoxes and finds it all too easy to confuse our judgment because we are often not thinking very clearly anyway. Sometimes we even hold two or more contradictory beliefs in boxes in our minds. If one is true, we think, when we finally consider them, then the other must be false. Not so. Perhaps both are false. Perhaps both are partly true and partly false. We tend to cling desperately to our beliefs, even when they make no sense to others or are counter to our own actual experience. Our paradoxes and confusions are self created, and the Pook need only dress them up a bit, add a little sparkle, and we're likely to believe almost anything someone presents to us. Wow. And that's exactly how we've ended up being where we are, right? Just to feel as if we have a metaphorical anchor in reality. Oh, okay. Well, that I just was shown a whole thing that has to do with what has been termed Trump derangement syndrome. Wow, because that's an anchor in reality. You see, as the energies change on this planet, each being is being asked energetically, who are you going to trust? Who do you believe? What do you believe? And and it is ah, it can be a little unmooring. People can come loose from their moorings if all of a sudden all their beliefs in whatever it is they're believing in are just stripped away. That's why I get so and I'm so glad that that it was echoed in the Jeshua channelings that the whole point of light workers is not to help everybody else, because it's to get to the bottom of ourselves, because then it happens to make the way available for each and every other being, because we are all one and jet singular in motion, in nature, in motion. Oh, that's very interesting. I don't understand why I said that, but hey. And our fields carry solution then, because you can't, in my 63 years, trust me, I've tried to change other people. That don't work. I didn't have any right to do that anyway, because quite frankly, I didn't know who the hell I was either. I'm I'm on my way to figuring out who that is. I mean, at least it's in earnest this time. I'm actually on the path instead of wandering around lost. Wow. I'm going to read this again. Our paradoxes and confusions are self created, and the Pook need only dress them up a bit. Add a little sparkle and dangle them before us in order to induce confusion. In that confusion, we are likely to believe almost anything someone presents to us, just to feel as if we have a metaphorical anchor in reality. This challenge for us is to wake up. His challenge for us is to wake up to stop projecting our confusions on reality. Once we have seen the truth, seeming contradictions and paradoxes melt away in the manner of realizing the solutions to a Zen cone like quote, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Now, once I realized that we're multidimensional and everybody understands things in their own very specific and yet wounded and distorted manner, and that it's a culmination of all the experiences that being has had up to that moment, boy, that makes it easier for me to cut everybody, including my own self, all the slack in the world. Because we've each and every one of us been programmed and conditioned in a completely unique manner, one that only the being who was programmed has the keys to undo. And it is their choice as to whether they embark on the quest to see that they have the keys to that kingdom. When we get the answer, usually by a burst of insight cutting through the confusion and paradoxes, which for me that I call that an alchemical epiphany, it always seems so simple, and we wonder how we could have been in such a tizzy about so simple a thing. We wonder why everyone doesn't understand this so very obvious thing. Well, it's because for me, for a long time, I had to cling to the idea that, well, it's either true or it's false, because that's what I was taught. We've all been taught misinformation, disinformation, things that actually just are flat out not true. And it's not their fault, believe you me, because they got it too. It is time for the resolution of seeming contradictions and paradoxes in the situation, whatever the situation is. For the three folks, yet again, it's the three folks that are here now. If you were drawn to this channel and you've stayed, there is something here for you, right? That's the way I feel about it. Someone or some part of the situation is cloaked in confusion, and our muddled thoughts must be stripped away, revealing truth. We just need to think about it. The information we needed is now available to us, and as soon as, okay, whoa, this is actually a very specific answer for me. I I got a nudge while recording. Yesterday I recorded a chapter, and then today the nudge came back again to reach out to one of the team members here, Journey Into It, Crystal Hemphill, and speak to her about, we are both BQH practitioners. I'm going to have her conduct a BQH session on me because this came in while I was reading that, and it's coming in here again because there's something in here that I need me to show me. So she's going to help me get there, right? And this is saying, it is time for the resolution of seeming contradictions and paradoxes in the situation. Someone or some part of the situation is cloaked in confusion. I'm very well aware that this, whatever this is, that was signaling me to do this, is cloaked in confusion, and that is why I reached out for that. And this is saying, and our muddled thoughts must be stripped away, revealing truth. This is the fastest way I know to get me to speak to me in my own voice so I can hear it. We just need to think about it. The information we needed is now available to us, which I have been, contemplating pulling myself into meditation, and I think it's pretty deep. But I feel like that's also why that signal telling me to reach out. That's very interesting how this works. You see how it works? The whole universe endeavors to communicate. At least that's what my perspective is on this now. And as soon as we have burst of insight and quote, get it. It's time, which is again that alchemical epiphany I spoke on. It's time for us to make changes based on our newly clear understanding. Alternatively, it may be time for us to take a reality check on the good slash bad labels we put on things. Wow, that's kind of interesting because I've been sharing that quite a bit this week. So perhaps there's someone that's been drawn to these, whether you're here now or you watch it later. That's something that I've come to know for myself, that I've labeled things one way and held them in that light, only to be shown later on with a little time, a little wisdom, and a little, hindsight, that just because I labeled it that did not make it that. Oh, I can label it anything I want to, does not necessarily it is. This, and that's what this says. Make a list of, quote, good, possibly even surprising things about this situation, and another list about the bad ones. If you are not in the habit of seeing the good in the bad and the bad in the good, having preferred a black and white world rather than one with colors, you may need some help in learning to do this well. And I will just say this right now. Yes, I was one of those kind of beings that if it's true over here, then that means it's false over here. It can't be both. Well, that's a very dualistic thinking, isn't it? And it's also a very set belief. And I now see very clearly where things can be so for me and not so for someone else. Um, so wow, I love it when things like that happen. Oh yes, 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 yes. Um, no, no, no. Okay. See, I was trying to get away from the Roomy deck, and apparently, no, we're not getting away from the Roomy deck. It has been one of my favorite decks, and but it's also very poignant and very smack on almost all the time. Very rarely is it not. So, wow. Anyway, so if you are in, as a projector, um, it's like whenever I have conversations with someone, I can help point to different things for folks. And wow, that was a whole stack, so we're not going there. um, so if you feel drawn to me and you think that I could assist you with something, don't hesitate. Reach out, man. Um, if there's a if I'm supposed to work with you, I will know, and you will know as well. And as far as exchange is concerned, don't even think about it. Don't worry about that sort of thing. Again, I will take care of me. The universe actually has been taking care of me. um, okay, so it's this one that came out. Layla, card number 34, which is a 7 numerologically. I love this. This is a card of surrender for me. It's very much a card of surrender. I also feel the celestial. Oh, I just got through saying, and I don't know if it was earlier in this or if it was in the recording of the Jeshua channelings, that I feel more of me entering again. Oh, I know what it was. I just said to my housemate Lisa, I've got to see about finding a chiropractor that I can work with, because there's some distortion. I have scoliosis, and there's issues with the spine, and I know that that interferes with my communication highway. The human vessel for me, I keep being shown that the central nervous system runs through the spine, branching out to all areas of the vessel. And as uh, the divinity, the life force gets in here and gets seated in, the more aligned the spine, the easier the flow. I'm intuitively feeling. For me personally, doesn't mean that's for everyone. This is in no way medical advice, blah blah blah. Seek your own, counsel on that. So it's a shame you have to say those things, but hey, apparently you do. So, okay, for some reason, the seven has always felt like a divine number, and I'm not quite sure why that is for me. I have looked cursorily into numerology, but I'm by no means a trained numerologist. I do know that this seven carries the frequency of a three and a four because it's 34, right? So the three being the Trinity and the four being a foundation. This is a very important card, it feels to me, a very divine sort of energy, right? Layla, put aside your clever schemes, O lover. Be mindless, become mad, dive into the heart of the flame, become fearless, be like a moth, turn away from the self and tear down the house. Then come and dwell in the house of love. Be a lover. Live with lovers. Clean your chest from all hostility. Wash it 7 times. Well, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? The card is number 34. Rumi had no idea that this artist would create this, that this card would be numbered 34, that I even thought to bring it forth in this card. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm not sure why that's being shown to me over and over again, but that's very interesting. Wash it 7 times, then fill it with the wine of love. Be a chalice for love. Be a chalice. You must all, no, you must be all love to be worthy of the beloved. When going to the gathering of drunks, be a drunk, become a drunk. Your thought takes a course, dragging you in its wake. That's true. Thoughts can think within themselves, and it can drag you right along with it, is what I've come to feel. Move beyond thought. Let your heart lead. Be the leader. When the grace of love is revealed, be a mirror to reflect it. When the beloved's hair is loosened, brush it like a comb. Be a comb. Rumi. Wow. How I long for my thoughts to no longer make any sense to me. Then I can be rid of them, like noisy house guests who have overstayed their welcome. So right now for me, I I examine all of my thoughts, at least cursorily. Is this something I need to pay attention to? Is this a nudge? Is this, especially if it's a reaction to something, there's definitely something there for me, right? But I'm practicing, uh, not trying, because listen, before I used to try to shut it out, and that's a lot of work and it doesn't work anyway. So now I just practice observing and allowing them to drift by without trying to reach out and grab it. What is that about? What do we think? Unless it's a reaction to something, right? For me, that's how I've been practicing. So I'm going to read that again. How I long for my thoughts to no longer make any sense to me. Then I can be rid of them, like noisy house guests who have overstayed their welcome. Oh, the peace when they finally go. True. Their incessant chatter brings me no comfort. I crave the silence of you. Will you let me hear it? Will you run through the noisy house of my mind with your great muddy feet so that I can focus on something other than my mind for a while? Maybe you can make such a mess that I shall give up my plans and attempts at order completely. Just give in for a change. It's time for that. To give up my ridiculous fantasies of perfection, useless, noisy, irritating, demanding, and jet deadening perfection. I'd rather just be alive. Boy, that's so true. I can't even at how funny that is to look back over my trajectory and see how I've moved through that right there, to be honest with you. I want to plant my head in the earth in the same mud that sticks to your feet and breathe in her rich soil smell. I want to feel her heart beating in the quiet movements of the roots of the plants as they stretch and grab and stop my ears with her fertile dirt, finally gaining peace from the constant infernal racket of thoughts no longer wanted. Oh, beloved, how you are to be envied. You are being given the gift of no self, no noise, no sense. The great beloved truly wants you to be closer than ever to the wild universal heart. In that field of love, every electronic device goes haywire. That's very interesting, seeing how what's been going on here at my house. My washing machine's acting up. The oven had to be fixed. The computer is acting up. I just can't unsee the synchronicities here. That's just a little interesting in and of itself. Wow. Systems collapse, worlds collide, and great stars are born from the chaos. But the real you will sense none of this. You'll be staring at your beloved so intoxicated by love, your tongue will loll out of your mouth and you'll drool like a bloodhound, and you won't care a hoot. Neither will the great beloved. Such will be the passion of your reunion. But that the only thing to matter will be the one great love exploding inside your being. So who cares if you have no idea what day it is? What is your job supposed to be again? I mean, honestly, did we all come here to do whatever we identify with that we do? That's a belief that we all bought into, isn't it? A whole crap load of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and flat out lie about that, right? There are some truths there, but not many. What was your job supposed to be again? Or how do you make conversation, let alone intelligent conversation at the dinner table? Ah, well, you shall not be yourself anymore. You shall not be so appropriate or sociable. A lot of folks have called themselves black sheep in their family, haven't they? Who understands crazy words that fall out of your mouth unchecked by logic or rationality? I do. I know the beloved too, and I am under that same loving spell. I, like you, have no I anymore. I, like you, am so crazy with love that I care not for the things making sense anymore. I, like you, long for my night of love with the great beloved that ends me forever and renders me only and ever the lover of the great beloved. It is funny for me how the relationship that matters the most to me in these moments of now, ever since I began this journey, is the relationship with myself. That is the most important relationship. And I quite frankly realized that I never gave myself the opportunity to really get to know myself, to understand what do I like, what I don't like, what do I want to do, what do I don't want to do. None of that, not really, in no uncertain terms, right? So I feel this totally. I call that night forward from my love crazed heart, as do you. That Layla al Qador, the night of destiny, let us run together and pound on the bedroom door of the great beloved. There is no shame, there is nothing else worth holding on to. Let us go now and throw ourselves upon the goodwill of the Creator. Our hair shall be messy and mingle with the good. No, our hair shall be messy and mingle with the curving galaxy, much like this, hey? And the planets shall grow rings around them, becoming the many eyes of the great beloved, delightfully bearing witness to our loving, passionate surrender. This oracle brings you a message. You are moving through a period of not knowing, a time in the great void or womb of the Divine Mother. It is in this place the seed can crack open and take root. This cannot happen in the light where all is seen and recognized. It must happen under the cover of darkness, where only trust can assure one of success. This is the way of nature, the way of life, and it must be honored. This is why, in my estimation, from what I've gathered with my puzzle piece collecting, and at least for me personally, there's no amount of doing for another. It has to be something they want and they seek out for themselves. We cannot change anyone. All we can offer is, if especially if they're asking, well, what are you doing? What something's working really good for you. Um, all they can do is share what has worked for them because it might not work for you. That's why it's so important to get in there and really feel oneself and that is that loving passionate surrender to self really. This is the way of nature, the way of life, and it must be honored. This oracle brings you ancient wisdom. It guides you not to fear the darkness, but to enter it willingly. It is not for you to become lost, but to find your way. This oracle is saying that in the darkness, there is the path, da tariki tarikat. And I'm not sure what language that is, and I'm not sure if I pronounced those words correctly. I would imagine it is Arabic because I believe Rumi was a Sufi, an Arabic Sufi, but I'm not sure if he was Arabic or not, but I know he's from over that area. Do not turn away from it. Let it be. Be with the lack of knowing. When people ask of you so many questions and demand sensible answers to support their notion of reality, do not bow to such unworthiness and fear. And part of it is because they can't feel what you're trying to communicate because they haven't experienced any of what you've experienced. This is partly why, in my view, trying to save our fellow humans isn't working. It's an inside job always. That's why we can share our experience and say, hey, be open to considering that, hey, this is working for me. You might find something there that can help you get into you. so that you can talk to you and you can trust you, begin practicing to trust you. Because that's the only way out of this mess, folks. And that's what I keep being shown out here on the world stage. Everybody's being asked that same question. Get in there. Who are you going to trust? Know that their minds may be fearful for your safety and their own, lest your divine madness be contagious, but that their fear is nothing to you, nothing at all. It is not even anything to them, but they just don't know that yet. Under the sacred black cloak of night, the Divine Mother, the Goddess, she who transfigures from darkness into light, has invited you into her chamber. In that place, you shall experience annihilation, but only that of which is untrue. Oh, and I just got flashed. That's why the burning of the dross, the sweating and freezing all at once. That's very interesting. That of which would hold you back. The burn. Going to read that again. Sorry. In that place you shall experience annihilation, but only that of which is untrue, that of which would hold you back, dampen your spirit, or prevent you from bursting into full aliveness. For that which is true is already seated deep in her womb and is preparing to be born, strong and with good, powerful legs. So when it is time, it will leap like a wild creature, all instinct and intuition, into the morning light. I feel like that's partly what several that I know have experienced by getting information. Don't worry, you'll know what to do when the time comes. You know, a lot of light workers, what's my mission? What am I supposed to do? What am I here for? If I am any indication, work on yourself, move towards that which brings you joy, because when the time comes, you'll know. You'll know that I that's what I keep being shown and told, and I others that I've spoken to have been getting the same exact thing. And there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my mission is. For me, I had to get quiet and follow myself and just know that I'm not going to have that answer until the time presents itself. And then I will know, oh, this is for me. This is for me. For this moment, however, there is darkness, and that is essential for the appearance so eminent, beloved, of the of the light on its way. This oracle brings you guidance. If you find yourself to be sad, to be grieving, whether you know for what or not, or even depressed or struggling, feeling as though you are being pulled down, do not fight. Bear witness instead. Allow what is taking place. Allow what is happening to happen. You shall find a joy in allowing the interplay of darkness and the light to take place according to a greater unfolding rhythm of your own divine growth process. Wow. Along with the whole labeling thing that I got today, this has been a heck of an energy read. So I would say from my own um, in taking in of this information. Okay, apparently there's I need to pull one more card, and this one's really quick. This is from the surrender deck. Um, that is this card truly is, and honestly, the way this one read too, there is an energetic of surrender with both of these cards. So for me, I'm taking this as there is, and especially since my own words out of my own mouth, I'm sure there is some belief that I still have attached to something that I'm being asked to see now as that I've labeled in a particular way. Ooh, oh. Well, that's interesting. Surrender to success. You are ready to experience abundance. Don't look back at previous roadblocks or difficulties. Leap into an exciting new world of possibilities. Well, I like this, and I'll tell you why. Not just because, of what many will equate abundance to, right? I love what Lisa Flamino Rush, my housemate, brought in with her own moving through things when she brought in her workshops. Abundance is having what one needs in the moment that one needs it. We've been misled, or I will say I have been misled about the definition of abundance. And everybody out there has their own definition of what abundance means or meant or will mean or whatever. But for me, abundance was always termed in terms of like money for because that's the game everybody's playing, right? If you got money, you're never without much, right? In the way of material things. You don't have to worry where your next meal is coming from. You don't have to worry that you're going to have to make a choice between a car payment and the rent because you got to have the car to get to the job, but you also got to have a place to sleep for you and your child. I mean, those kinds of things, right? So there's a tendency from that perspective to look at abundance as merely cash flow, when in fact, that's not it at all. I have been totally abundant my entire life. I never made over $29,000 a year, but I was abundant in that I never went without anything. I mean, had you asked me back then, I would have told you that, oh, yeah, we're going without, but we weren't. We weren't. Not for the things that actually matter, right? It was my perspective on it. And I also feel for me, so one, my idea of abundance has shifted, but also the leap into an exciting new world of possibilities. When I feel into, on this channel for the longest time, I see money as power over other. The whole thing is power over other. And when you feel into the fact that it's called currency, it's an energetic power over other. Because if you got it, you can get people to do all kinds of things and they will step over their own boundaries. They will do all sorts of things as we're about to see come to full light on the world stage. Folks will do almost anything, including kill themselves at a job they hate to get abundance, right? And so, what if there was a brand new way of feeling abundant, but also I feel this part of leap into an exciting new world of possibilities has to do with considering let's get the money out of the situation. Let's get rid of that because it's really just a middleman in between your energy and mine anyway. And we've been taught that it has to be a tit for tat situation. And because I went to school and spent all this money and I got these letters after my name, no matter what it is, now it's got to be charged this really high dollar item to assist whatever it is, which has mostly been misinformation, disinformation, and all of that anyway. but it's all a matter of misplacing our trust in self out there in others, all in the name of power over others. So I love this for me and for you, for all of us, for a whole crap ton of reasons. Because I've also had this thing about what success is, right? There's all sorts of labels that we can put on stuff. Well, some people will say, well, Sheila, you're an old lady sitting in your bedroom talking on YouTube to what? One person. Now, generally, these do get seen, by maybe 20 or so folks. But maybe something I say goes out like this and affects the field and comes around and does something else. What is success? I feel it's success if just one person found something of value in something I have to say while I'm talking to myself. Because that's really what this is here. Let's just be clear. That's why I always say that. This is 12-year-old Sheila conducting a therapy session for herself, just happens to be in public, so you could take advantage of whatever it is, right? And if you're drawn here, there's generally something for you. So, wow. Yes, I will look at, because I feel, wow, that's huge for me in a lot of ways. Well, that's it for this one. I hope it was helpful. And I hope that you will move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you. There is, wow, okay, so now I feel like there, okay, no, that's to be a standalone. I'm going to be putting out a couple of standalone videos apparently. So we'll see how that goes. Till next time, I hope that you all will, like I said, move towards that which draws you, brings you joy, and ask questions on any emotion that explode and looking at emotions as an explosion of misunderstanding has brought a whole new way to ask myself questions about said misunderstandings so that I can get to the bottom of it. And it has nothing to do with whomever triggered that explosion of misunderstanding.